All right. Afternoon, everyone. So I wanted to take a moment to do an over-explained video on how to build a banner and the types of things that you want to be doing. So I created a file. We're going to dive into it here in a second. And as always, if you like what you hear, or you have follow-on questions, feel free to catch us live on Twitch. And if you're cool with the YouTube content, hey, that's all good. Hit the subscribe button. I'll continue to release videos regularly. So that said, let's dive right into it. All right. So I have 3 sample banners here that I want to talk about. There are a few honorable mentions that I'll bring up towards the end of the discussion. So the first banner that I want to talk to you guys about is the whip banner. The whip banner is essentially your early game. I just need a guy to blow the horn. And so with any banner build, you need your banner to do 2 jobs. If you have a guy who's just solely focused on the horn, what ends up happening is you're effectively playing the game with an 11 row formation the entire game. The pole arm itself falls off very quickly, and so you want to make sure that you are getting some other function out of your banner. So the whip banner is a very low stat requirement build. Basically what you're looking for is a resolve star, a mat star, or 2. This is inflated. You don't need 93. You're perfectly fine at 85 even. You're perfectly fine at 105 before Sergeant Sash on your early game banner. It's not a problem. What this banner allows you to do, well, it's 2 things. One, it's a low requirement build. You don't need a god to make this banner. And it's a low requirement build in terms of equipment. This guy is nimble. He's going to be in 95 mil to 110 mil with a 105 to 110 helm. What you're doing with this guy is you're going to equip a whip and the banner, and this guy is going to disarm threats. You're using this guy to help control the battlefield early. You're using this guy to catch arrows. He's going to get targeted a lot. You don't want extremely high RDEF on this build. The AI doesn't know you have anticipation. So he's going to catch arrows so that your other bros don't have to. And he's going to control the battlefield. Bags and belts also gives you a lot of utility for nets and smoke pots, specifically smoke pots and daze potions. Again, using this guy to control the battlefield, right? This is quite often in my runs my starter banner build. Usually I'm cycling off this guy, but it functions well even into the early part of the late game until you can build something else. Your candidates for this: flagellants, monks, heck, any bro with a resolve star and mat stars and a good base roll works perfectly fine. And this is a shout out to a build that Filthy Robot developed, by the way. This is not my creation by any means. This one specifically. I haven't seen very much of it lately as I watch content creators, but it still works. It's a technique. You don't want to be waiting until day 30, day 40 to start developing your banner. You're going to lose a bunch of undead fights. You're not going to be able to take fights that have geists. Fights in the ancient dead legionaries are going to be sketchy because those have fearsome. You want this function early, and you want to establish this guy early. The other thing is that you want to take advantage of the ambition, rally the troops, It's a super easy one to finish, to get your renown going, to get your early unlocks. So this is a way to get output out of the banner past just holding the pole arm, which falls off in terms of DPS very quickly. This is, I'll cover the frontline banner last. This is the thrower banner. This is one of my personal favorites. This thing is a DPS monster. What you're looking for is a guy who can get over 85. The more the better in this stat line, but a guy who can get over 85 rat, who has a good base roll, and when I say good base roll, like mid 40s to 50s, and a star or two in resolve. And what you're doing with this guy is there are a bunch of fights where you just don't need the banner, right? In which case he's a Zerk Frenzy, fearsome duelist, throwing spec, damage machine, who's going to be doing, 100 plus resolve fearsome checks on the enemy. Tons and tons and tons of DPS output. In your fights where you do need the banner, you do have the ability to quick hands over. Let's say he has Javs open. Has Javs equipped. You can throw a Jav, quick hands back over to the banner. You can also have the banner out, quick hands over to Barb Javs, throw a Jav, and then use your remaining AP to swap back to the banner so you have uptime on your banner into things like Geists. So very frequently, the first couple turns into Undead, this banner will be throwing, and then this banner will swap back to the banner in order to, one, have the resolve buff to your team, and two, getting ready to start rallying as guys inevitably fail checks into the Geists. This banner has a ton of output. Your requirements aren't very high. Witch hunters are incredible for this. Hunters are incredible for this. You're committing to basically putting all your stat points in range skill and resolve, and then your off rolls are going to be split between HP and fatigue. Now, this is a frontline banner build, something that I really enjoy as my late game. Sometimes I pull it off early mid game. It just depends on when I get the bro and where I'm at on curve in terms of gearing. So this guy is going to be in 300. He's going to have a mace, and the function is fairly similar to the thrower banner in that the majority of the time and the majority of the fights, the banner is never even going to come out. He's going to have the mace up 90% of the time. You can also do this with the chosen axe. You could do this with the hammer, but you need higher fatigue, obviously, if you're going to do that. Generally, I use a mace, but you have other options here, right? You don't really want to use a cleaver because a cleaver is going to drain too much fatigue off the build. Now, you have a Battleforged Bro, 300 armor with high resolve, just a very solid tanky frontliner who is also serving the function of your rally bot. You're looking for a guy who's going to get mid 30s or better, MDef, and that's no shield. So your bro requirements are a little bit higher. Adventurous nobles tend to fit very, very well into this build. You're looking for a guy who can get over 85 mat. The higher the better here, obviously. And then you're looking for a guy who can get above 85 resolve before the sergeant sash. And those are kind of your benchmarks for this guy. I'm a huge fan of this build. But again, you need 300 armor. You need a mace, which maces are fairly rare to loot off of enemies. You pretty much are always buying maces. You could do it with the chosen axe. Chosen axes are abundant in the wild, right? So you have some versatility, but this style of banner gives you a function for your banner that you wouldn't otherwise have. So these are kind of the three banners that I use. I'll flip. Usually it's this banner, and then eventually I'll build one of the other two. But I don't want to be fishing, witch hunters, which can get pricey, and hunters for this guy. And I don't want to be fishing adventurous nobles, hedge knights, sellswords for this guy until I'm stable, until I have my retinue, until I have my first card upgrade, all of those things. So some thoughts there about how you transition into these two. Honorable mention, a banner that's not displayed here, but a way you can build a banner. You can build your banner to be a tank, to be an on formation, center formation tank. It works. It's not really my banner of choice, but that is also a way to build a banner. So I've gotten that question a lot about, what do you look for in a banner? How do you build? And my answer is start here, build one of these two. So short video, just something I kind of decided to put together to answer that question. I figured it would be a welcome addition to the Overexplained series. I'm going to do a video on early game builds, mid game builds, late game builds. I'm going to do a video on building hybrids, and I'll mention ranged units there. But this is just something to kind of help explain my take on banners. Regardless of how you build your banner needs to have two jobs. So it can be control, it can be holding difficult positions, it can be DPS. But regardless, it can't just be a guy who toots the horn. That's not going to go well for you. All right. If you have questions about this, need further explanation, have input, have other banner builds that you like, because there's a bunch out there, right? Essentially, as long as your banner's doing two jobs, it's better than a strict banner. It'll work. And if you have those recommendations or that type of feedback, anything you'd like me to try on stream, just let me know. But thank you guys so much, and take care.